Hello students, this is 1.5 chapter 1 fifth problem, and the question is two particles 1 and 2 move with constant velocities v1 v2. At the initial moment their radius vectors are equal to r1 and r2 vector. How must these four vectors v1 v2 r1 r2 be interrelated for the particle to collide? Then the solution for that question, you can solve this question by this manner. Consider that O is the origin point and the position of two vectors are these. These are R2 vectors and R1 vectors. These are R1 and R2 and their modulus are R2 mod and R1 mod. These are positions of two particles 1 and 2. Two particles 1 and 2 move with constant velocity v1 v2 vector. Let the velocity of this particle is v1. So consider that the particles will collide. Particles will collide after time t. Let the particles collide after time t. Then in time t, we can make a diagram of this type for the collision, for making the collision successful. This is the point where the particles collide. This vector will be v1 vector into t, and this will be v2 vector into t. So this is the origin point from where we have to calculate all the distances. This is r1 vector, this is r2 vector. The distance covered by the particle in time t in this direction, v1, let the direction of v1 vector is this and that of v2 vector is this, r2 direction is this, the direction of r1 is this. So two particles 1 and 2 move with constant velocities v1 and v2. At the initial moment their radius vector are equal to r1 and r2. How much these four vectors are interrelated for the particles to collide? That the particles will collide after time t. Then a diagram of this type you can make for the collision, for making the collision successful. This is the point where the particles will collide. This is the origin point from where distances are taken. For collision, if we draw a line from O point to the point of collision, that this is P point of collision, then this vector is r1, this is v1 vector t. So this vector will be the sum of these two. It will be r1 vector plus v1 vector into t. And if we see this part, then it is r2 vector, this is v2 vector t. So this vector can also be taken as r2 vector plus v2 vector into t. This plus this equal to this vector. But you know that this plus this is also this vector. So OP vector can be written in two manners, and we know that these two should be equal. So r1 vector plus v1 vector into t will be equal to r2 vector plus v2 vector into t. And if you solve this, take v1 in this side and r2 in this side, you will get r1 vector minus r2 vector equal to t common, it is v2 vector minus v1 vector. So r1 vector minus r2 vector is t times v2 vector minus v1 vector. This is first equation. And for finding the time or finding the value of time in a scalar form, take mod on both the sides, you will get r1 vector minus r2 vector mod is equal to t times v2 vector minus v1 vector mod. This is second equation. अब आप इन दोनों इक्वेशंस को डिवाइड करें तो टाइम का टर्म जो हमने ऑटो कंसीडर किया था वो कैंसिल हो जाएगा और एक रिलेशन मिल जाएगा हमें r1 वेक्टर माइनस r2 वेक्टर डिवाइडेड बाय r1 vector minus r2 vector mod equal to v2 vector minus v1 vector divided by mod of the same vector. तो ये बात जस्टिफाई होती है कि अगर हम एक ऐसा रिलेशन अचीव कर लें r1 r2 v1 v2 के बीच में, in this manner r1 minus r2 vector divided by the mod of same equal to v2 minus v1 vector divided by the mod of same, then we can make a condition in which the particles will collide. Thank you.